then that gives me time to meet with them in small group while the rest of them get started on the project.
So that daily warm up bell ringer is not for everybody then.
It is, but if the ones that are already proficient and have done it faster, they can move on to the project, and then I can catch the other ones up. And then we can
so that daily activity that we do together gives you the ability to like prepare them for what's to come in the block later, like to handle the independence better, right? Can you give me an example?
Yes,
would you be able to
time?
Would you be able to give me an example or show me an example?
So yeah, so today, let's see, how do I share screen? Okay.
By the way, did you get a new hairstyle?
Or did you straightened my hair today, yeah.
Because it looks really nice.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. I'm going to show you my Google Classroom for that class. Sorry, I was grading before.
Okay. Yeah, and that's great because that's also going to give me a chance to like have a sense of like how your class flows. You know, we always talk about the Google Doc and the bigger picture, but it's nice to have a sense of like your class flow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 1 second. Let me.
Yeah.
It asks me to sign in again for some silly reason this day. I hope it doesn't knock us out. Okay. So, for instance, this girl right here is she might be a level 1 English speaking student. This is my Google Doc that I share with each student, and it outlines how I do my class. So we go over the essential question. Sorry. And then we go over the vocabulary. Hold on, sorry, right there. The vocabulary. So we outlined so the vocabulary words are shape, and then there are 2 types. So we outlined geometric and organic. What are they? So we define them separately. Then form, value, components of a shadow. And then we've been working on a lot of worksheets or packets to try to practice the skill and the techniques before we do the final project. So the pre-assessment was if they took just this worksheet is what it looks like. It's just a circle on a piece of paper. And then they did it without any background knowledge. So what do you know about shading? So try to make this circle look like a ball.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so she did that. That's her pre-assessment. That allows me to know, do they know the components of a shadow? Do they know how to shade? Blended shading, all of the things I'm looking for. Then we do a pre-assessment on value. And then they post a picture of what they do and how they did it on there.
Yeah.
And then I ask them to respond to this lesson essential question because now we're a week or more in. And then can they answer, why value is important to show the illusion of form. So actually in this red text right here, she should have written back to me. But she probably, now that I know she didn't do it, she didn't understand that I needed her to access this part. So that's the language barrier. So right there, that's a red flag that she didn't understand my cue to go finish that question. And then this one, it's probably really late, but they did a template that we're going to draw on starting next week. And this first picture was our first week of progress. So it should be just a blank template, which it's very hard to see.
Yeah.
With a circle in the middle and a line and then a value scale at the bottom. So it's just the boxes and the circle. And then next week we're going to start shading. And then she's going to put her progress in the second week right here. So that's the flow of the class.
Right.
We go over this, we review the vocabulary, and then we start working. So those are pieces.
So the bell ringer or the warm-up would be previewing what's the task that we're going to do today?
Right.
And so then when you do that, you do it with the whole group?
Yes.
But then out of this, you kind of like have kids that are ready to fly on their own.
Right. So if they're ready to fly on their own, they get their projects out and they start drawing.
And then if they're not...
Right. Like I'm going to go back and ask her, can you finish this question?
Mm-hmm. But like when you're finishing that daily warm up, like when you're finishing the preview, how do you know who is ready to start, and how do you know who should probably sit down a bit more with you and get extra support?
Because the day before the class starts, the night before, the afternoon before, I'll go into all the Google Docs and see where people are progress-wise.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. So
And
you
then
look at it before, and so you're the one kind of group, like knowing that. Then you go to a group, or you make them come with you as a group, or do you go check on them one-on-one?
Both. But if it's only a few kids, I'll go one-on-one. If it's like a whole group, like 5 or 6 of them, then I'll pull them to a table where we can go all together on that part that they don't understand.
So that is what you were referring to when you said, I've started doing this and I've noticed a change with that group, correct?
Correct.
Wow, that's a really good adjustment.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting.
And I was doing it before, but it wasn't as calculated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't meeting with the Hispanic population group. Like, I wasn't making an effort to meet with them as a group. And I have a bilingual tutor in this class, so she helps me translate.
Wow, this is really neat. That gives me goosebumps, because I think that, first of all, it's a sound practice for personalized learning. This idea of like looking at my Google Classroom data and then grouping at the beginning of the class based off of that.
Right.
But also hearing you say that the particular effort and emphasis is nice in leveraging your resources. So one of the things that I think, you remember we did a little bit this last year that could be interesting, is maybe making a Google Drive folder that you could share with me that would have just these students' work, that group of students, or like a document that would have that group of students you prefer, like tracking in a spreadsheet or in a doc. But last year, I think the easiest thing for you might have been that Google folder piece. That's French. That Google folder path.
Right.
Because I think by having an eye a little bit on them for a while and seeing how your adjustments play out for them, it might be a really good way to study the impact of what you're doing there.
Okay.
Do you mind doing that, or is that complicated?
No, so if I shared, can I just put you in the class?
You could probably invite me to the class too, yeah.
Or would it be easier if I'm just making a copy of this document and putting it in that folder?
For example, yeah. If you don't mind, I think that might be, yeah, if you make a copy, if they update it, I'll still see the updates, you'll just have it to do it once. And then you and I can continue to talk about how they continue to progress through that, right?
Right.
One thing I wanted to ask you, do you mind in sharing the screen? There you go. One thing I wanted to ask you when you were showing the document, but I don't know if it would be something you're open to. When they have the reflection pieces on the Google Doc, more like, okay, why do you think value is important? That type of question. Do you think these are generally the type of question that students like her struggle more with?
You know what's funny about that? I have thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
But she's outstanding.
Right.
But so she got here late this year, but she goes on Google Translate, copies my sentence, puts it in Google Translate so she can see what it means in Spanish, and then she does it. So she actually answers all of my questions.
Right.
Is it a struggle for her? Yes. But
for her,
all of the resources to get the job done. So she goes above and beyond and gets it done in a timely manner. And then the other kids are just still sitting here.
Right.
So are those questions hard for her? Probably. I could make them more simplified.
I don't know. I don't know that I was thinking of that. I think, okay, I'm an ESL student myself. All right.
Right.
So I can tell you, even though I've been here for 10 years, and I hope that I do not sound too French anymore. Not in a bad way. I mean, not that I.
No, right, exactly.
But that that I can speak English without too much of an accent. But I'm still extremely nervous about my writing a lot more than I am about my speaking in a funny